We have got the next session. It is 3 keynote speeches of roughly 20 minutes duration. There are no Q&As in there. So this is just to highlight really the state of our industry, how it is being shaped by bigger factors. So we are going to start with Dr. Alexander Fleischhandel. He is the CTO, Primetals Technologies. Dr. Fleischhandel has got a PhD in process engineering, is a distinguished innovator, has got over 100 patents single-handedly on his name. I've known him for quite a long time, have had very interesting discussions with him, and he is responsible for a diverse portfolio, different areas, and he's going to give us an update on the grand quest for green steel, technology as a survival strategy.
Good morning, everyone. What a pleasure. First, big thanks to the World Steel Association for having me here as a keynote speaker, and it's unbelievable how time is flying. I still remember being on the stage in Abu Dhabi two years back there, and I felt quite comfortable this morning entering there outside, meeting so many friends and stakeholders and participants. I know most of the people here in the room. Well, the grand quest for green steel, and that's a kind of retrospective about the last 2 years. What has changed in the challenges, but also what is the progress we have made in this industry? Well, and I'd like to start with the challenges, the global dynamics. So we have definitely seen over the past two years a significant slowdown of the economic growth. We have also recognized that we have significant capacity increase in this industry, while the demand remained pretty stable. So according to the World Steel Association, we have had 640 million ton excess capacity in this industry, and is still going to grow. The forecast is 720 million ton a year. And that's a challenge, because, well, that's bringing a lot of pressure on the steel prices, and if the steel producers are not profitable, they cannot invest into the decarbonization. So that's one of the major roadblocks, I think, that has to be removed. Well, the other thing was the inflation, the high energy prices in certain regions in that world. And while we all have recognized that decarbonization can just work if we work along with the electrification, so that's a base condition. Renewable energy at a reasonable price. It's another roadblock we have to solve altogether. And all the geopolitical tensions we have seen over the past 2 years, especially on also natural gas prices, what would be the option to the electrification? Well, at the end, likely this is going to lead to the decoupling of the iron making and the steel making. It's still not completely answered, but definitely the most energy intensive part of the steel making is the iron making, and it's logic that it's going to move there where the energy is cheap and available. Well, we have seen progress from the governments, supporting also the investments, especially in Europe, but also punishing the steel producers. I call it punishing, is with the implementation of the ETS and the CBAM, which is going to start pretty soon and have an impact on all the global steel producers that intend to import into the European Union. Well, we have seen significant progress in the circularity, I would say. That was not on our agenda 2 years back. Everyone has recognized that utilizing at the end of the lifetime the steel scrap is the best route to decarbonize the steel production, but also the focus on how to utilize the new type of slag coming from the increased number of electric arc furnaces and bringing that back into the cement industry, and also the issue of dust that contains zinc from the electric arc furnace is on the agenda. Well, we've seen a hype on hydrogen, and we have all realized that it will take a little bit longer than it was forecasted by so many consultants 2 years back. The price is simply too high. The scale is not yet there, so we have to work with option. In the meantime, we have heard this from the recent speakers there. And finally, we have also to address that still the steel industry is not the most favorable place to work in the industry for young talents, so we have to attract the young talents. And we have a lack of the knowledge for the new technologies, so we have to educate the people for the operation, and that brings then the digitalization in place. Well, you know that slide, I always use it, and it was said also from Dr. Edwin Basson that we have a three-step approach. First and most important one is we have to concentrate on decarbonizing the existing assets, optimizing, take every effort there, while the transitioning phase is how to decarbonize integrated steel mills, implementing the one or other electric arc furnace, or even a direct reduction plant, while maintaining still the operation of blast furnace. The last phase, we have to wait for the hydrogen economy and that sufficient renewable energy is available to enter really into the green steel phase. Well, that's still our outlook from Primetals Technologies. It's a little bit different what we've heard from Dr. Edwin Basson. So we believe that blast furnace capacity is going to reduce to 35% from about 70% in the last year. But it does not matter if this is 35 or 50%. It's important to recognize the blast furnace will be around for a long time, and we have to concentrate how to decarbonize that route as well. While we will see significant increase in scrap recycling via electric arc furnaces, and this is 1/3 in 2050, and the last third we believe is based on direct reduction technologies, different type of direct reduction technologies. So this is a huge effort. 850 million ton of the actual production route will have to transition. That's a huge investment, that's a huge effort, and that's a huge energy demand to proceed. So it's in the discussion over the past 2 years, I would say, it's obvious that we talk about 4 main steel making routes in the future. The first one is the integrated route, and we have to concentrate on the decarbonization there. And then the focus on really advanced electric arc furnace technology, mainly based on scrap, but also with some dilution from virgin metals there. And the other 2 routes are then based on direct reduction technology, depending on the iron ore quality, either low or medium grade iron ore, and that requires then going into a smelter to sequestrate the high volume of slag there and to provide a slag that finds its way to the cement industry. And for the high grade iron ore, we can go straight with the DRI or HBI into the electric arc furnace for the steel making. The good thing is, direct reduction technology is flexible. It can work with hydrogen, but it can work as well with natural gas or any mixture thereof. Another important progress over the recent 2 years have been on the twin transition. So adding another transformation on top of the decarbonization transition with the digital transformation. So it's all about data intelligence, digital assistance, artificial intelligence, and stepwise going towards autonomous plant operation. So we can say both transition pathways are strongly interdependent with each other, with the society, with the humans. And everything is going to change. How we work, how we produce, and how we interact in this industry. And that's about what I said on the likely decoupling of the iron and steel making, and mainly not only the reason for the availability of renewable energy and the pricing of the energy, but it's also talking about raw materials. Raw materials is another extremely important pillar. So we see in the future an undersupply of DR-grade iron ores, highest iron ore grades, while likely we see an excess capacity on low to medium grade iron ores. So therefore, we believe the smelter, when it's de-risked, and it has been proven in the industry, will have its right to replace mid to long-term blast furnaces as well. Scrap, the second important raw material, we will see increased scrap at the end of the lifetime, and every ton and every kilogram of scrap is going to be used. So that's a good thing. We will require less virgin iron ore in the future, so we have also to ask ourselves, and therefore also appreciate it that we have the upstream integrated in this conference, because it's a discussion. How many new minings do we require to go for DR-grade iron ores, or do we utilize the low and medium-grade iron ore that is available when we blow down the blast furnaces and utilize this excess capacity via direct reduction and the smelter technology? Well, coming to these three different phases, in the interest of time, I cannot spend too much time on individual technologies, but it's important not only to concentrate on the blast furnace for decarbonization measures, but along the whole value chain, starting really from the iron ore beneficiation down to the finalized steel product. Yeah? And there are endless opportunities, how we get more energy efficient from waste heat recovery measures. There's still a lot of potential integrated into the heat balance there, but also improving the yield, the quality of steel, improving the lifetime of the steel, and many other efforts that we still have in front of us. Well, I'm just going to pick one because that's relatively new, and I said it's retrospective about the last 2 years, and that's on the SIP technology, SIP technology, sequenced impulse pulsing. It's one technology that can be added to the blast furnace operation to decarbonize, to inject the oxygen via the TURS at high pressure, at high frequency pulsing, keeping the raceway clean, improving the CO gas utilization in the blast furnace, also with the potential to improve the productivity of the furnace and allowing to go for lower grade feedstocks in the burn. It's about 2% of decarbonization of the blast furnace, but it's 2%, and we know that's the biggest headache we have, is the blast furnace. Well, we also intend to apply the same technology for shaft gas injection, and we've started together with First Alpine and K1 Med, a project to investigate, to apply the SiP technology, especially for hydrogen ejection in the blast furnace shaft. So this is a 3 years project ongoing. Let me move to the transition phase. And in the transition phase, the most important element is really advanced electric arc furnace technology. And while we have improved significantly the racing horse, I would say that's the ultimate EAF in our portfolio. It's a single basket charging high-powered electric arc furnace, and all the transition projects in Europe that are in execution from our company are based on the ultimate technology. The other technology is the quantum technology. The quantum technology works with preheating of the scrap, and it's the technology that utilizes the lowest value of electric energy for the scrap melting. It's a furnace that is dedicated for high scrap rates in the furnace on a finger system, and you see there less than 300 kilowatt hours per ton are possible. And just a record that we achieved in summer this year in China, one of the quantum furnaces, 50 heats per day, which means less than 28 minutes tap-to-tap time on 310 kilowatt hours per ton. When we talk about electric arc furnace, another requirement is that we fulfill the grid code. So the more renewable power we find in our grid, the grid providers are asking to avoid any flicker, any backdraw to the grid. And over the recent 2 years, we have intensively worked on the development on a medium voltage-based multi-level converter technology that completely avoids flicker, also current peaks, and improving the utilization rate of the electricity to the electric arc furnace. I'm proud that we have started up the first of the active power feeders in the last months at an electric arc furnace in Germany, still ramping up, and from early next calendar year we are going to scale up for large electric arc furnaces with the same technology. Well, talking about what are the challenges if we go for hybrid mills, implementing electric arc furnaces while we maintain the blast furnace and BOF route. It's a challenge because the integrated steel mills are not used so far to operate an electric arc furnace, and now it's reliably to produce the same steel quality for the demand side than with the BF-BOF, and to decide which of the steel grades to be produced on which production route. So we have to support the operators really to achieve that target, and that's the main goal of the central operation cockpit that we have recently introduced at the hot strip mill in Germany as well. And the target is really that we can achieve a single man-operated pulpit for a complete facility to be operated. And that's only working if you have a couple of monitors only, not hundreds, and you have event-based tracking. Only where action is required is brought up on the screen with a recommendation which action to be taken, and if these are multiple events, they are prioritized. What's the most important action to be taken? So that's a real guiding system for the operator, and I'm pretty sure that's the future for this industry. It's also helping for any software upgrade with the new legislation in place on the software security and upgrades. It's important to pre-test any new release, and this can be done offline then in the central operation cockpit, but also to use it as a flight simulator for new recruiters, for the new talents to learn about the operation and the new technologies. And that's all about having, on the one hand side, a real plant, but on the other hand side, a full digital twin. And the full digital twin, I mean really a metallurgical and a process digital twin that can really simulate the production offline there, to develop new steel grades, to train the personnel, as said. That's the way forward, and we see definitely, almost on a daily basis, I think from all the OEMs and steel producers, new digital assistants, one by one, and each of them is promoting autonomous plant operation in the mid-term. So, well, what is important as well, what we have achieved over the past 2 years is the MTOC operation. It's now that we supply plant components individually with QR codes. You screen the QR code, you directly link to the documentation, to the PID, and you have augmented real-time values in the PID when you go out there. So no local control boxes anymore, no cabling. You work with a tablet on that one. And the last phase is the green steel phase. And one big potential is definitely endless casting and rolling, like the RWD ESP technology. I have to say it took a while, but now the industry is really obviously ready for endless casting and rolling. We've recently signed the 14th ESP contract in China, and what is so exciting is that we have partnered also with RENA for that one and producing the first time silicon steel grades in a quite a significant production portfolio in the CSP the first time. The last important thing I have to touch upon is about direct reduction. So the forecast is 470 million ton of DRI in 2070. So this means about 500 million ton of DRI capacity to be added. And these are the one hand side, the well-known Matrix technology where we are licensee of, but I'm going to talk about development, and that brings me to fluidized bed technologies. And well, Dr. Kim from POSCO mentioned the pathway forward. So we are proud also to support POSCO on the high REX development, utilizing sinter feed for net zero DRI and arrow making. The other technology is the high flow technology, and I'm going to talk about because, well, innovation is a marathon. We started with the HIFO development exactly 2 years back with simulations and with lab retort trials, and went further then into the pilot stage and operated this pilot plant that can be seen in the middle here, the center, 1 ton of iron ore feed, ultrafine iron ores, and have operated with almost every iron ore source around the globe. We have won the Federal State Innovation Prize the first time a year back, and we are proud. And we are also proud that we have taken FID decision in April this year, jointly with our partners, First Alpine and Rio Tinto, and on the scientific side with K1 Med, to take now the next step for an industrial demonstration plant fully based on hydrogen, green hydrogen, renewable energy. And what is the feature about the high 40? It can use any type of iron ore independently of the quality. It can operate or is dedicated to operate with hydrogen, but definitely can operate also based on natural gas if it's transformed by reforming. It's a fluidized bed technology, as said. The advantage is it's at highest yield and it's low reduction temperature. It's much lower reduction temperature than any other technology for direct reduction that is around. The startup of that plant is foreseen for the last quarter of 2027. I have to mention this is supported by the government of Austria and also the European Commission RFCS in the funding. Well, on the left top, you see finally how the plant is going to look like, and we have put the shovels into the ground in the end of September. It was the official groundbreaking and press event there. You see the scale, 3 tons per hour. It's a flexible plant that can produce DRI or HBI, pig iron or hot metal. It's fully flexible. So the smelter, I mentioned, we have scaled the smelter. We are implementing, together with POSCO, a demo in South Korea. We're implementing demonstration plant in Linz at First Alpine, and we have already taken the next step to scale it up for the big size to replace blast furnace. One word about circularity. The smelter is also dedicated to utilize and treat electric arc furnace slag or any other type of byproducts. That's important. That's what we're going to do also in the showcase in the demonstration plant in Linz. It allows to treat electric arc furnace slag and other byproducts and to convert it into products mainly for the cement industry and recover the metal. And the last slide on CCUS. Well, together with ArcelorMittal and LanzaTech, we have started up and optimized and ramped up the Steel project, producing renewable ethanol there, and it's up and running now. And well, a year back, we have also implemented carbon capture technology for top gas at ArcelorMittal in Ghent that is now moved to the reheating furnace to capture the CO2 from the reheating furnace of the hot strip mill. I'm jumping over that and coming to the end as I consumed more time as I had already here, and just summarizing what has been said. It's a long journey to decarbonize. There is not one fit all. It's really a variety of technologies that we have to follow and to continue to succeed in the decarbonization efforts. It requires strong partnerships. It cannot be done by one alone, from the upstream, also including the energy sector, the OEMs, the steel producers, the politics, the financing sector. And we have also to focus on retaining skills, train people, and attract young talents in this industry. On the last point, digitalization, I have definitely no doubt this will proceed quickly, including all the artificial intelligence. I'd like to thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for a very nice roundup of what you are doing for the steel industry. And it was a very nice segue from your last slides into our next presentation, talking about the circularity, about the use of slag. And the next presenter is Olga RUDKOVSKAYA, and she is responsible for sustainability, ESG at ADNOC currently, has got a long experience of working for different industries, oil and gas, aluminium, as well as steel industry. And then she's going to talk about the clustering. And that's a very intriguing topic for me. And that's why I refer to the circularity and then the use of each other's outputs and inputs as inputs. So I would like to welcome Olga, please.
Good morning. I would like to first of all thank conference organizers for inviting me here to present the industrial clustering for steel manufacturing mechanism to enable technology deployment and scaling up. I would like to convey that I'm actually also a researcher and research with the University College London, and this topic I hope that it will be also relevant to you. Steel industry contributes to 7% to global greenhouse gases emissions. And as we all know, the key contributors to energy consumptions and emissions are the digital infrastructure and data centers, buildings, including HVAC and heating, and transport and economic activities, including steel manufacturing. Working as sustainability representative, I am always looking at the decarbonization aspect of it and also looking how the technologies can accelerate the decarbonization. Therefore, looking at steel demand versus the urgent need for decarbonization, we understand that steel is the backbone for energy transition. Wind turbines, solar farms, and hydrogen facilities all do require the excessive amount of steel. The steel is also essential for transmission and grid expansion, such as the shift to clean power requires new transmission towers, electricity poles, and substations, all of which depends heavily on steel. Last but not the least, steel demand grows as electrification accelerates. The EV, charging infrastructure, and grid-scale batteries all require structural steel. According to the EIA, estimate that the clean energy technologies will increase global steel demand by more than 20 to 30% by 2030. We in Abu Dhabi witnessed the first in the region metal park with capacity of 450,000 square meters and the storage capacity around 350,000 metric tons with the purpose to bring the ecosystem together. The cluster is located in Musafa in Abu Dhabi and been opened in 2025. However, some of you might have witnessed the announcement of the Metal Hub during the previous conference, where it was actually conceptualized. We consider that this is the first step to enable industrial clustering in the Middle East. Why the industrial clustering in the Middle East is important? Because it's pooling infrastructure to reduce the costs, optimizing the logistics and resource sharing, de-risking investment through coordination, partnership, and collaboration, and attracting sustainable finance at scale. Why the Middle East is adventurous, has an advantageous position to accommodate industrial clustering. Two companies that located in the hub are Emirates Steel as well as AGSI. And I would like to bring both of the cases and how it helped us to succeed in emissions management and reduction of carbon footprint per unit of product. Emirates Steel, with the use of DRI, as well as the EIF, carbon capture technologies, and green hydrogen pilot, has achieved 45% lower carbon intensity than the global average. Also, it's targeting to achieve additional 40% of its absolute greenhouse gases emissions by 2030. AGSI is the second representative in the metal hub that uses electric induction furnace and deploys the renewable energy sources. It operates on 100% of locally sourced steel scrap used as the feedstock, and positions as the first carbon neutral product manufacturer. It has 95% of crude steel emission. It has lower by 25% of crude steel emission lower than traditional blast furnace-based production. So why the Middle East? And so as we discussed, the advantageous position of the Middle East is mostly associated with three main reasons. Firstly, we have the access to the low-cost renewable energy. Secondly, we have the strategic governmental support for the industrial zones, like the one that I have just discussed. And we also have the public-private partnerships that enable the climate infrastructure. So looking back at the technology breakthrough and which key technologies the ecosystem players in the metal hub been using. So the first and foremost is the carbon capture and storage and the hydrogen that are deployed with the support of ecosystem players such as ADNOC and Masdar. And deploying for the steel making helped us to reduce the emissions by up to 95% and position the UAE as the future hub for green steel production. The steelmaking with application of electric arc furnaces or electric induction furnaces and deployment of renewable energy has a potential and capacity to use up to 80 to 100% of the energy supply sourced from renewable and clean energy sources. The deployment of those technologies have substantially increased the opportunities to progress in low carbon steel in the region. Concerning the investors aspect and how we are looking at the risking and longevity of the metal hubs regionally, we see that there are three key mechanisms. The first mechanism is very much related to the transparency in ESG and sustainability performance, as closely as possible aligned with, for example, the GRI or SASB or IFRS. Secondly, enabling the policy tools, including the carbon tax and green procurement strategies in the hub. And the last, robust ESG risk management mechanism, including, for example, the enterprise risk management system and involvement of leadership in key decision making. Those finance and government's dimensions support investment trust, enable premium financing, and help position the UAE and similar clusters as the world-class sustainable industrial hubs. As the summary of and the call for actions that we would like to convey, we see that the clustering become a viable and with a regionalized approach. And I would like to specifically highlight that also aligned goals in combination to climate commitments, climate change, climate management commitments, and economic resilience and giving an example of our leadership in the country, where the decarbonization targets walk along with ministerial commitments to increase the non-oil GDP, should walk together. And the last but not the least, the collaboration and engagement of partners and collaborators, be it the policymakers, technology providers, off-takers, is extremely critical, and therefore I would like to encourage to collaborate in our Metal Hub. I would like to thank you for your attention, and looking forward for nice presentations.
Thank you, Olga. Couldn't agree more. Collaboration is the key when we go about this objective. Now, we have got the pleasure to invite Dr. Klaus Peters. He's Secretary General of the European Steel Technology Platform. Klaus has got a very long history with the steel industry. He's served in various platforms, including the RFCS, and he's currently the Executive Director of the Horizon Europe Clean Steel Partnership as well, a series of breakthrough research being carried out. So, Klaus, the floor is yours. Looking forward to your presentation.
Good morning and welcome from my side. You see, the title is Transformation of the European Steel Industry, the Role of Innovation, Collaboration and Standardization. Let's start with collaboration, and the first element is the plea to you to collaborate, because I know it's me, the something like 20 minutes, which differentiates us to the coffee break, which follows afterwards. More than 75 years ago, the CEOs of European steel producers sat together and decided to do something special to improve their competitiveness, to collaborate, to work together in a new way, which ultimately led, as you can see by the slide here, to the foundation of the European Union. They established, together with the coal colleagues, the European Community of Coal and Steel, dedicated to collaboration in research. And it was a 50 years contract, then beginning of the 2000s, evolving into the research fund for coal and steel, and of course growing with member states also joining the European Union. And it was really an outstanding collaboration example, as also the check and balance was within the steel producers happening. And the RFCS is, in our eyes, the backbone for the European steel research. And we are also very grateful to the good cooperation with the public side to identify opportunities to even further improve this important funding instrument. So the last modernization happened back in 21. And also the beginning of the 2000s marks another important collaboration example, the important ultra-low CO2 steelmaking project ULCOS, which in fact gave also birth to ESTEP, the European Steel Technology Platform. And on this slide you see something like the milestones of the evolution. In 2018 we became a privately financed Belgian legal entity. And 23 was the decision to work towards standardization. I will deep dive into a couple of examples also in the course of this speech. And 25 was the year when we decided to not add more events and activities to the already crowded agendas, but rather to see which entities are already active across the steel research and team up. And you see, I'd like to present here the example with worldsteel. I'm very happy that this worked out nicely. We also have a cross-membership. And yesterday, for instance, we also could see, we had the idea to use the event where the world comes together to discuss about decarbonization of the steel sector, to exchange also views on a regional perspective, and I believe, Rizwan, you managed to organize a very good exchange yesterday for half a day. And the ESTEP platform brings together all European steel stakeholders, so the producers, but also technology providers, universities, and research technology organizations. The power of ESTEP is due to the membership, because ESTEP as such has only 4 people. And the example of worldsteel is accomplished here also, or accompanied on this slide by a couple of other events which happened in 25. So also with nearby to Brussels, KU University, also with the university in Aachen, we had this thermal process event in September. Also we are very happy to have an excellent relationship with technology providers, which then enabled us to bring together also the community in Udine in our annual event in October. And just a few days ago, we were hosted by SMS at their Mönchengladbach headquarters to discuss the future of European steel, where also a high number of representatives from the European Commission engaged with us in these discussions. And we know that decarbonization is the very dominating topic in regard to research. You see here by the many screenshots of publications that all the documents are focusing on low CO2 steelmaking. And still, I like to emphasize it's important to not forget that the customers of the producers are not only interested in green steel, but in a performing product. Because finally, the end customer wants to enjoy a nice car or house appliances or whatever. There are so many examples of steel applications. And therefore it's important, yes, to find supporting instruments, financing, research instruments, policy instruments for the decarbonization challenge, but also to continue to also support the steel product research-orientated work. And therefore we are quite happy to have a good funding scheme in place in Europe with Horizon Europe and RFCS, accompanied by the Clean Steel Partnership. And I don't want to go into the full details of how these instruments are established and set up. But the main message I'd like to deliver is that we have 3 types of instruments. So the RFCS annual call, which is fully bottom-up, so also allowing in particular the product-related research for rather lower technology readiness levels and smaller project sizes. And the next step is then supported by Horizon Europe, where we have medium TRLs and larger project sizes. And here we work together with the public side to define dedicated topics, which then are published, and proposals reply to these specific call topics asking for funding. And last but not least, RFCS Big Ticket, where we emphasize on demonstrators, and one we've heard already about, the high force melt project. I will also come to this later on. And the Clean Steel Partnership has already been mentioned by me, and here you see that this is a dedicated public-private partnership established by a memorandum of understanding and a total size of 1.7 billion euros, making use of Horizon Europe and RFCS, focusing on pilot and demonstration projects. And when we look into the scope and the topics which are covered by this joint research work, this slide provides an overview as the result of a dedicated project which came to an end 21, and of course we update the summary slide regularly, and I'm very happy to also see that, or to be able to present to you that still new ideas. Let's go back to the slide. That new ideas pop up. In the previous talk from Alex, he was talking about the smelter as if this was already an existing technology for decades, but I say 5 years ago, almost no one talked about the smelter. And you also touched on something like a new life for the blast furnace, and I'm quite sure that the colleagues from SMS in their coming talks will also give some insights into a possible new life to the blast furnace, showing that also here we are not running low on ideas in making meaningful proposals to help mitigating climate change. And the research community is, of course, addressing many of these technologies which are summarized on this slide, and I will come to a couple of examples in the course of my speech. On the next 2 slides, you see the summary of the running projects financed by the Clean Steel Partnership. You can see, started in 21, we have now 37 running projects. On this slide, it's the medium-sized projects funded by Horizon Europe, and the total funding altogether is more than 200 million euros, so it's already something. And here we have the list of the research fund for coal projects, and as these are the big tickets addressing pilot demonstration, we can also see that the size of the projects is larger, and the high force melt is the number 29 on this slide. And the examples of the steel projects, I'd like to go into more details now, following these 6 elements. So I'd like to start with some examples addressing the scrap issue and, of course, decarbonization, and also the work towards standardization. Slags were also already mentioned, that this is an area of important work to be done, and I'm also looking forward to continue the discussion with the colleagues from worldsteel, whether this is also for sure an opportunity for a more intense collaboration between Europe and the world, and of course digitalization. And collaboration has no dedicated additional slides because in these research projects, collaboration is something like an intrinsic accomplished objective. So we have in the course of these Clean Steel Partnership projects 4 dedicated to looking into better use of scrap in various ways. So the CESA, the SISMA, the DEGRESS, and the Pure Scrap project. You can see that the projects make use of ESTEP to organize a scrap cluster workshop where the approaches were shared in order to gain knowledge also across the projects. And when we look into into the details, we can see that, of course, there is some common aspects between the projects, but each of the project is emphasizing on different use cases. Sometimes it's the bulky scrap which needs to be classified and sorted, or in the degrease project, for instance, it's all about using modern technologies to analyze and have more reliable data when the scrap enters the plant by trucks. And with the other projects, also shredded scrap is analyzed so that finally in the containers we have a much better knowledge about the scrap composition, so that then the melting of the scrap and can be decided in a better way, or in the lower left, it's even about using robots to sort the scrap based on the analysis made on the conveyor belt of the scrap. And these are all running projects. And a very important project also from our side is the HIFOS melt for a couple of reasons. And the obvious is it's the largest project, having received funding from the Clean Steel Partnership, 18 million euros of funding. And as it already has been introduced by Alex, and I guess also Tom Bürgler will tomorrow go into more details, I will not repeat the details of this fluidized bed and smelter approach, and just emphasize, as written in the lower part of this slide, that it is also unique because it's possible due to the combination of various funding schemes, which was quite some hard work, finally accomplished by the consortium, meaning that, yes, our partnership is able to support financial means for the operational costs, while the national funding complements with the CAPEX cost. Only then it was possible to finance this large project. And if we now turn towards digitization, the example I'd like to elaborate on is the Prisma project. And this is also quite unique because here we've a consortium composed of all competitors from the technology providers, and also all steel producers are working together. And it's about establishing a platform for exchange of environmental data. Today, many times, this is semi-automated processed by Excel tables. And here we like to use the modern tools to really define a digital platform so that we then also can go in an automated exchange along the value chain, in particular also with automotive industry. And that's another example where we can illustrate the role of ESTEP being a significant added value, because the project may run for the 5 years and make significant progress. However, if we want really to establish a new standard, much more time is needed, and here ESTEP is volunteering to contribute to this extra effort. Even if the financing of the project has come to an end. And the work towards standardization is now fully implemented and live within ESTEP due to the big personal emphasis of our previous ESTEP president, Mike Androsch from Post Alpine. And it's all about the support of our mainly producers, members, to identify the promising work and drive these towards standardization. And as already said in regard to the collaboration, the idea is to do this in a smart way. And on this slide, the main message is that we are not creating lots of additional bodies or processes. We are rather looking into the existing standardization processes and then use the results of the work we are doing within ESTEP with our projects, the technical definitions, and then like to feed this into the existing standardization processes on European or international level. And the PRISMA project is one candidate, so here it's on the right side. But we also have two initiatives which are not publicly funded, but 100% financed by private money, one in the area of local ductility and the other one on hydrogen embrittlement. And also the SISMA scrap project is aiming to finally feed into a standardization process where we also are supporting this activity. And in regard to the hydrogen measurement of zinc-coated cold-rolled steel strip, you can see that we've already participated and contributed to an ISO meeting. And for the local ductility, we are in close cooperation with the German Automotive Association, VDA. And the last example of the steel research projects is dedicated to slags. I cannot agree more to what has already been said. The new processes will lead also to new slags. And in order to be circular and environmental responsible, we need to find solutions. Here you see some pictures of a slag workshop carried out in Duisburg in March 25, bringing together the experts from various slag-orientated projects. And this is also a very important agenda item of one of the ESTEP's working groups. We call them focus groups, circular economy. And the Symbio Steel project in the upper right, for instance, is paying attention to continue with these solutions we can enjoy today with the blast furnace slag, and how do we guarantee that, for instance, with the smelter, we have a similar slag and can again provide the feedstock to the cement industry, or to investigate the possible usage of the new slags is at the core of the INSCAP project. And with the Trans-Zero Waste project, there are also attempts in general to reduce the waste, so it's not limited to slag alone, but also what also has been mentioned already, that dusts or sludges are also often an important area to make progress to provide it as a feedstock for other industries, and by this reducing landfilling to a reasonable amount. And slag for sure will be also an important topic for future projects in the context of the Clean Steel Partnership. And this brings me to the concluding remarks. Yes, so the Research Fund for Coal and Steel is the backbone for the European steel research, being a very lively and active community. When we will have more and more progress in regard to the transformation towards green steel making, I'm very sure that we will also experience surprises. Then I believe it's very important to have such kind of active community so that solutions can be identified quickly and implemented. Most of the research is happening in the area of decarbonization, but we are not forgetting that also progressing in regard to products is important, and that is also, of course, happening. And the main idea of this research is to be prepared as soon as we have more and more full industrial size installations in regard to deep knowledge what is best to be installed. Because we, of course, are also realizing that the business case is not easy as of now, and this is not accelerating the investment decisions at full size by industry. But knowledge is for sure a smart way of de-risking. Yes, and we are continuing to support the community in the work towards standardization and bringing the experts together to exchange knowledge and disseminate the results is at the core of our ESTEP work. Thank you very much for your attention.